Hi there, Stampers. This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. Today we're doing a fairly simple card. We're going to do this fun fold here, and it comes with a belly band that's going to slide off, and then it's going to do a top lift into a gatefold. So kind of a combination of a couple different cards, but I think you're going to like it. It's an easy one. It still looks really pretty, and I'm excited to show you how it's done. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Springtime Scenes and the Spotlight on Nature dies. And I did that because I'm using the Velvet Meadows Specialty Designer Series paper. And I know it coordinates with something, but it's a stamp set I didn't get. And so I was just kind of going through my things, and I thought these leaves here kind of look like those. And we're doing flowers. And so this is going to work well, but this is really pretty. And I don't know if you can tell, but any of the, like a lot of the white, it's soft. It's like a velvet. So these here, they're all really soft. And so anywhere you see that white, it's not quite catching the reflection right, but that's all raised and really soft. So it's beautiful paper, very subtle on the back, and has those bright, pretty colors on the front, which worked out well for this, because this is the sheet I'm using. It comes in 12 by 12, but it was nice and subtle on the inside, giving us our flowers on the outside. And I cut that to, let's see, 3 3/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. Okay, so that's going to give us that middle portion that's going to lift. And then I made the gatefold part actually out of something I don't use very often. I'm using the two-tone cardstock, and it's something I don't use a lot. I know scrapbookers are really excited about it because not only does it have the kind of dual color where it's darker on one side than the other, but it's thinner, which to me didn't work really great for cards. Although if you're going to be making something with a lot of layers, then, you know, lighter might be good, because it would cut down on the cost of postage. But it wasn't as sturdy. Okay, and I got one of these sample packs. It was just a few of each color. It went with one of the designer series papers I had. But for this purpose, it actually worked really well because it is lighter weight, and it's going to cut down on the cost of postage when I go to mail this. And then this being an extra layer on here and then having the cardstock on top of that, it just kind of builds up and gives strength to this, which I thought was kind of thin. Okay, so this was, like I said, I cut it down to a regular card base. So it was 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and then I scored it 2 1/8 in from either side. And then after I scored it, I burnished one side really well. The other side I kind of arced in. So imagine this wasn't burnished yet. And I kind of fold it over. I make it butt up till it's nice and flush. Then I use the bone folder and folded this down. Okay, so that made sure that it met in the middle. There was no gap and there was no overlap. And we just kind of forced this score line into whatever made the middle work, because the middle was the important part. Okay, I mentioned this one. And then I have a piece 3 1/2 by 5 1/4 that's going to be the inside layer we're going to stamp onto. And then I have 2 circles that I die cut using those Spotlight on Nature. I have our belly band, and I just started out with a 2-inch strip, and we're going to show you how we cut this down and score it to make the belly band. We're going to die cut a couple of leaves, and then we're going to die cut that ladybug here. So we needed the black base, but then I wanted the top to just kind of be self-adhesive. So I grabbed a piece of the adhesive sheets and I just kind of cut it down. And then I reached in and I grabbed a few scraps, and they're not going to fit exactly, but that's going to be okay because I'll show you what we're going to do here. I'm going to peel this back. We're going to expose the sticky. Then I'm going to take my first piece and I'm going to go ahead and lay that down so it's all nice and flat. And then we're going to peel off this one. Okay, and then I'm going to take my second piece, and again, holding it at kind of an angle, I'm making sure that it's going to butt up to that edge, and then I'm going to roll it down and let it stick. Okay, so that's how we use the adhesive sheet, is that we're going to put it on the back of cardstock first. Because it comes in 6 by 12, I almost always have to cut it down first because it's going to take me a long time to use the full 6 by 12. But if I cut it down into what I'm working with, it goes a little easier. Okay, we're going to start out with those Springtime Scenes dies. And this is the body that we're going to do out of pink. This is the body we're going to do in black. And then I've already got the leaf out here. And there's two of them. And this time around, I'm using the solid leaf. I really like this one because it does kind of cut in the middle as well as the outside. And so it gives it a little more depth. But this time I wanted the focus to be more on the ladybug. So I'm just going to run these through real quick. Did everybody have a good weekend? Did you do anything fun? It was really windy here this weekend, and so my husband and I didn't get to go out and enjoy our e-bikes, which made me even more glad that I took Monday off and we rode on Monday. So I'm putting all three pieces on here at the same time. I don't need to run them through the die cutting machine individually. As much as we can fit on that platform at one time, the better. That way we don't have to crank as much. So I've got these three pieces here, but I'm going to do a second of this one. I'm glad you guys like the paper. I see people commenting that. I always want to show you what the catalog doesn't, because I think while the paper is beautiful and the pictures in the catalog do what they can, you just don't get the full effect, I guess, of some of these papers, which is why I think that the paper shares are such a fabulous idea. Each time I have a catalog, I do what we call a product share, and I take them and cut them into 6 by 6, and everybody gets a 6 by 6 piece of each designer series paper, and it lets you sample them all and decide which ones you want extra of. Because sometimes we can tell straight from the catalog, and other times we have no idea how really pretty it is until we see it in person. Okay, so there's those two. And like I said, we did this on adhesive sheet. So that's going to allow me to just take and pop this out of its little thing. And I keep throwing these away, but I'm thinking, man, there's probably something you can do with those since they're all self-adhesive little circles. They could be fun on something. Okay, but once I have it off, then all I need to do is peel off this, and it acts just like a sticker. So rather than my having to get out a fine tip glue pen or, finagle some way to make sure that I can get adhesive under there and not have it make a mess, this just becomes a sticker to go on top. No mess. Okay, this one I'm going to want to put in the middle here. Okay, so it's going to have the 1/4 inch on either side, but the height is going to be the same. The thing I want to watch out for is I want to make sure that I'm not too low here. Because if I went ahead and I stuck this down and say I was a little bit short, then when I tried to bring these in, this isn't going to fold over right. So, I mean, hopefully it all just comes out naturally, but just to be on the safe side, I like to, start out centering it, put it on there, and then I'm going to make sure that these close before I make sure that it's good and stuck. Okay, we have a little bit of stamping to do, not much, and then we'll get down to that belly band because I'm doing a partial dry emboss on it. So I've embossed on the front, but not on the back, and I'll show you how we do that. But let's do a little bit of stamping here. I'm going to bring in Peaceful Pine because that is this green that we're working with. That's one of our new in colors. Bring in a little bit of scratch paper because I'm going to let these kind of hang off the edge. So I'm going to bring in my leaf. And then I'm going to do Sweet Springtime on the circle, which is going to be this one, and Sending Lots of Sunshine, which I believe is this one. Okay. Now, anytime I do sentiments, I'm going to lay them straight on my grid so that I can make sure that the words are straight. Then I'm going to make sure the block is straight, and then we'll lay the paper straight. And all of those is going to keep us in alignment. That's the plan. Okay. Carol Sue says the circles could be used as the center of the flower. That's a great idea. Shaker pieces, they could definitely be that. I just thought with that extra sticky on the back, it could be, I don't know, confetti, something. Okay, so the greenery. I'm going to do this. Hopefully I've gotten rid of that issue with the cursor. I had a couple people mention they were distracted by the cursor on the screen. So I've tried to remember to pull that out, and I don't always, but over the weekend I kind of Googled a little more and found a little piece of software that's supposed to make the cursor disappear when I'm not using it. So hopefully that fixes the problem for those who were distracted by that. Because I try my best to remember things, and I try my best not to make mistakes, although we're all human and that happens. I'm always a little bit surprised when somebody comes at me in the comments about some mistake I made, because I don't intend to. Okay, this is going to be my inside, Sending Lots of Sunshine. Okay, and then we have the outside, and actually that kind of blurred a little. So see, that's why we do our stamping before we adhere. Just for that specific reason. If we don't like the way that came out, we're going to redo it. If that was already glued inside to the card, we would have all kinds of issues. Okay, so try this again. And I just wanted a little something, which is why I'm letting it hang off, because I don't want it to be overpowering. And so we're just getting part of that stamp, not the whole thing. And there's a little bit of extra there. So if I really wanted to, I could even come in from the other corner and cover that up. But I think that's small enough that I can come in with an eraser. Okay, so Mono makes these sand erasers. They're kind of in the art department. And when things are small enough like this, I can come in with this and just give it a little bit, and it'll pop that off. So I try to, if I make a mistake, normally I would ignore it and just move on, but I have been told that you guys like it when I show you how I correct those things. And the sand eraser is one of those things that comes in really handy. And of course, it's in my Amazon store, apparently. People ask me often where I get some of these things that are not sold by Stampin' Up. So I developed an Amazon storefront where I can put all those things so I don't have to send you separate links. You can find the mini magnets, the Velcro dots, like all those things that I use are on the Amazon storefront, which is in the description. And then, of course, I get a little thank you from Amazon for sending you over there to shop. So, okay, this one, I wanted to do that springtime, sweet springtime on here. And you'll notice I've got a little bit that did not come out. I always try to look at the back of the die before I pop it out to make sure that everything comes out the way it's supposed to, and that one didn't. So you know what I think? I think that's where these leaves are going to go. We're going to arrange those leaves so they're just going to cover that right up. Okay, that's going to be another one of those little tricks that I like to show you, is that normally we would think, oh goodness, I made a mistake. That's terrible. That's not going to work. Somebody's going to hate that. We'll just cover it up and nobody's going to be the wiser. Nobody's going to know that's there. Okay, so keeping in mind that my leaves are kind of going to go right about here, I'm going to make sure that I stamp down in this corner. And I am stamping first because as we just saw, if there's a boo-boo, we're going to flip it over. But I want to go a little bit low and to the right. And it is a circle, so that's going to be good. When we put it on our card, we'll just make sure that the lines are straight then. Okay, in order to keep this kind of loose and flowy, I'm going to just adhere on the bottom, and I'm going to put the mini glue dots like right underneath the little leaves. Okay. Oh, and I wanted to show you these. Everybody asks me, what are these things? They come in the little kits. If you get Paper Pumpkin or buy a kit, these are mini glue dots. And to use them, you want to go underneath, so you're getting the glue dot and the cover. And then you're going to set that down on your project, kind of just like we do with mini dimensionals. Because after we have it in place, then we're just going to pop off these covers and expose that mini glue dot. So if you get those, don't throw them away. They're still useful. They're a little more work than the regular ones, but they are useful. Okay, and then like I said, that's where my little boo-boo is. So I'm going to arrange that so that a leaf goes right over it. And then we're going to put this one on the other side. And this is another thing, when people first see the mini glue dots, they tend to try to peel them off of the thing. And rather than try to peel them off with your fingers or a tool or something, I take the paper to the mini glue dots to peel it off, because then it's going to be nice and flat. I find when I try to take it off with a tool or my fingers, they kind of roll up and get all yucky and unusable. Okay, and I'm going to put my little ladybug kind of right over the top of that seam. So that's going to cover that up. And then we're going to adhere this to this one using some dimensionals. Then we're down to that partial embossing on our belly band. And anytime we make a belly band, you want to have it meet in the middle. And so you're going to take whatever the width of your card is. If you're making a 5x7 or you're making a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, whatever size you're making, you're going to take your strip. So I've got my 2-inch strip. Because this is 4 1/4, halfway, let's say 2 1/4, 2 3/8. We want it to overlap a little bit. So you get my little finger mark right there is at 2 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and just score there. Okay, and then I'm going to come over. It's 4 1/4 wide. So I'm going to take that line and I'm going to put it at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to go over just a little bit. So almost 4 3/8. Okay, then I want another like 2 3/8 on this side, so that my belly band is going to meet in the middle. I don't want it to overlap too much, but I want it to overlap enough that I can put some adhesive right in there. Okay, so you see that's about 1/2 inch. That's going to be perfect. Then I'm going to take my belly band, and since I only want to do these 2 pieces, I'm going to take a embossing folder. I love this one. This is a new one coming out, Swirls of Magic. That would be really pretty. The one I used on here was the sunflowers. So that works really well with this. But since we're doing Ladybug, I'm going to use Ladybug Picnic. And then to run it through the machine, I'm going to want to put this down here. That's the only way it's going to run through the machine without messing up. Because you could try to put it here and like fold under, but it makes a mess. So the best thing to do is put however much you want in there and have it come out from the bottom and then feed through the machine this way. Anytime you're doing embossing folders, you always have it feed through with the fold first. Patricia says she took her forever to figure out what the glue dots were. See, that's why I mention it, because I think until somebody points it out to you, they're not obvious. Okay, so I'm going to run that through that way, and then I'm going to flip this around and I'm going to run it through the other way. So that's going to go through my embossing machine. Okay, and that's going to give me this. Yes, I did do it off camera because I wanted to be able to keep going. Okay, so that's going to be that little bit that's going to overlap. It's meeting in the middle. I'm going to have it meet in the middle in the front so that I can use my focal point to cover up the seam, so the seam will not be seen. Okay, I wanted this to stick really well, so I want kind of a thicker adhesive. So I'm going to use tear and tape. You could also use mini glue dots, but because of that embossed area, it just needs something a little thicker than seal. I mean, I think you could make seal work, but I'm just going to go with this. Okay, and I'm not making it too tight because I do want to make sure that it will slide over our card. Okay, I don't want it too loose. I don't want it too tight, but I want to make sure it's going to go on there. Okay, so maybe you would want to kind of slide it on and then stick it so that you are where you need to be. Okay, and then I'm going to put some adhesive across here where the circle is going to go. Again, covering up the seam. I think I mentioned to you I am working on book 5 of my Fun Fold tutorial books, and I'm up to already 30 different patterns in that book, and I'm always looking for more. We have 20 more to go to make book 5. If you ever are out there surfing around the web or Pinterest or somewhere and you see a fold that you'd like to learn how to do, please send it to me. That would save me a lot of work during the week to not have to get stuck on Pinterest, because you know how that goes. Once you get on there, it's kind of hard to get off. But I also, because I want to be doing what you want to see done. So if you want to know how something is done, ask me and we'll figure it out. Okay, so here is the belly band off the card and how it opens. Okay, and then this is what it's going to look like finished off. Okay. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Like I said, I think this one's fairly straightforward. Bug eyes, the little dots. I'm going back through the comments. Very cute. Lots of ideas for the little things that pop out of that ladybug. Okay, so there we go. That was today's card. Like I said, quick and easy one. We were done in half an hour. And that was with me doing way too much talking. And I hope you love it. So give that one a try and then shoot me a picture. I'd love to see what you do with it. Thanks so much. Bye.